Alexander was making his mark on India. But despite his great victory, the long years of fighting have taken their toll on his army. To make matters worse, the monsoon rains relentlessly set in.
It would be psychologically terrible for the men from Macedonia because they had never known anything like it.
After 8 years and 17,000 miles, the troops reach breaking point and refuse to go any farther. Alexander has lost his first battle against his own men. He has no choice but to turn back.
But just think of it. Here he was going to be, before he was 30, standing, he believed, at the point where the world ran out into a vast, great sea of water. And he was going to stand and look out, and he was going to sacrifice to the gods that his divine father had told him to sacrifice to. And he was going to think, back in your hole, Philip, you never got so far. Oh, come on. Yeah, it's egocentric. But what a name, what a name. And they'd gone and denied it. Wimps.
Alexander takes the long way back to Persia, leading his troops on yet another epic march. This time through the barren wasteland of a desert, one of the driest places on earth. Why Alexander came this way is a mystery. Perhaps it was to punish his men for not following him to the ends of the earth.
The terrain changed dramatically from hard-baked ground where nothing grew to a shifting desert sand which buried his army up to their waist and above.
Thousands die from sunstroke, thirst, and exhaustion. Less than a third of Alexander's army survive.
He thought that he could conquer anything. So far, he had conquered everything in his path. And he thought he could handle it. And he was wrong.
And while it is the worst disaster of the entire campaign, it's still a marvel that they crossed at all.
They never really quite knew towards the end what Alexander would do next. His actions and his policies were unfathomable. He was unpredictable and threatening to them in that sense.
Alexander marches on to the Persian city of Susa, where he has another surprise in store for his men. He commands nearly 100 Macedonian officers to take Persian brides.
These marriages were meant to stay in place. They were meant to go and inseminate these women and produce an endless number of hybrid Macedonian Iranian children who were going to be the princes of the future.
The marriages are deeply resented by the men, and their anger grows. But for Alexander, merging East and West is a practical affair. He himself makes a point of marrying 3 foreign women. In order to rule a diverse empire, he needs to fuse the cultures.
He's looking forward now to the new empire, not the one that he's conquered, not the one he brought with him from Greece and Macedon, but the new Middle Eastern empire.
Alexander marches his army back to the new seat of his empire, Babylon. On a hot night, after a bout of heavy drinking, he falls mysteriously ill. His concerned Macedonian officers gather around his deathbed. After 11 feverish days, he dies at the age of 32. What killed Alexander? Was it disease? Was it alcohol? Or was it murder? Some experts say it was typhoid. Others think he was poisoned by a group of his officers, tired of his rages and his desire to be worshipped as a god. But for centuries, historians have debated the cause of death.
I'm sure of one thing, Alexander wasn't poisoned. The final fatal dinner party is dated, May 29th. His death is the 10th, 11th of June. If you were going to poison Alexander, you'd have given him a massive dose. So what did kill him? Well, it can't be an epidemic. It's not that masses of other people died around him. It's not some kind of Asian flu. It must be something specific to him. High rally to malaria.
Alexander's body can't be examined because it's missing. On its way back to Macedonia, his funeral procession was ambushed by one of Alexander's generals who wanted to take the body to Egypt. For centuries, Alexander's body lay in the city of Alexandria.
It was probably one of the most sacred relics in the Roman Empire. Alexander became worshipped as a god after his death in a very serious way.
Julius Caesar came to pay homage to his dead hero. The Roman Emperor Augustus laid a golden crown on the coffin and scattered flowers over the corpse. But in the 4th century AD, something happened, and the tomb disappeared. Since then, Alexander's tomb is one of archaeology's holy grails. Some experts believe it could have been destroyed by war, or even earthquakes. But one British historian has a more startling theory. Andrew Chugg believes a clue to its whereabouts lies in a 16th century map.
In its exact center, there is a building, a small building, that could be the chapel, with the minaret of a mosque beside it, which is labeled Domus Alexandri Magni, which is Latin for the house of Alexander the Great.
It was here that a sarcophagus was located. It was meant for the Egyptian pharaoh Nectanebo II, but he was never entombed there. Is this where Alexander was laid to rest? The sarcophagus was rediscovered by Napoleon in the 19th century. But when he was defeated by the British, the empty sarcophagus was moved to London. Today it rests in the British Museum.
This thing may have been touched by the remains of Alexander the Great. When you think Julius Caesar may have been there, Augustus Caesar may have been there, Napoleon probably touched this thing, you get an almost electric thrill from it.
But the British Museum doesn't accept Chugg's idea. Any DNA evidence to support the claim is no longer there. And so the search continues to find the conqueror's body, buried somewhere under the shifting desert sands. Or perhaps, as some believe, beneath the city he named after himself, Alexandria.